Good afternoon, my fellow British citizens. This is a bit of a State of the Union address from me. As you know, all across the country, far-right extremists are targeting immigrants, Muslims, and non-white people generally with violence, along with organizations that help facilitate immigration. Of course, people need to be held accountable for their own actions. However, this also includes those who have conceived and proliferated the narratives of hatred that have systematically vilified and demonized immigrants, Muslims, and non-white people generally over many decades. These narratives have thoroughly permeated large swathes of the public consciousness and shaped a false reality for millions. The people responsible for these narratives are collectively known as the politico-media complex, which basically consists of a collusion between elements within the government, private interests, the corporate media, and associated regulatory bodies. The extremity of the language used to demonize and vilify the aforementioned groups has been escalating in recent years, aided to some extent by the binary opposition encouraged on social media platforms in order to drive engagement. In 2015, the UN's High Commissioner for Human Rights urged the UK's politico-media complex to curb incitement to hatred in the wake of some particularly horrible language emanating from the creature known as Katie Hopkins. She was referring to migrants as cockroaches in much the same way that the Nazis referred to the Jews. In the end, nothing was done about it. The regulatory body ruled that Katie Hopkins was within her rights to say such things because migrants didn't refer to a specific group of people. The UK's politico-media complex clearly demonstrated then that it has no intention of restricting the use of these narratives, and the real reason for this, I believe, is not because of some noble adherence to free speech, but because these narratives are deliberate constructs unleashed to sell certain policies. That wave of hatred towards immigrants in 2015 was the groundwork for the EU referendum, and it worked. If you're familiar with my work and the Fold output, you may know that I've been banging on about this stuff for nearly the past 15 years. The reason I'm outlining it so sharply now is because this latest wave of extreme far-right violence is an inevitable consequence of the politico-media complex's shameless deployment of hateful narratives that has, despite the Black Lives Matter movement and many other efforts in that direction, continued unabated for at least the past 4 or 5 decades. Now, as I said, each person that commits an act of violence still bears that responsibility themselves. But if the politico-media complex remains unchallenged in any significant way, even after this latest wave of violence, and notably, Parliament still has not been recalled at the time of this video, then all we can expect is more violence. And I don't know about you, but that's not the world I want to live in. So, as always, the first step towards challenging this is awareness. Please take this concept away with you, do your own research, and have informed conversations with everyone you can about it. My contention has long been that this is the elephant in the room, and it is time people started to say, oh shit, look at that fucking elephant, it's huge.